Welcome everyone to the second episode of the Concrete Canvases podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tommy,
I'm Eshan.
and before we go into the content, we just want to talk a little bit about scheduling first. It's been about a month and a half since the release of our last episode, and I figured I owed you guys an explanation as to why. So,
It's more of a we thing.
oh yeah, that's true. We're both full-time university students. I'm studying to become a teacher. Ishan's in business school, so class comes first for us. As much as we love to put more attention to the podcast, we want to put. I mean, school comes first. It's really simple like that. We're both freshmen. We care about our GPA, stuff like that. So we hope you guys understand. If you don't, I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
As committed we are to this podcast, it is at the end of the day extra. It's stuff that we can do in our free time, and we need to put our academics first. And yeah, that's probably an explanation as to any scheduling conflicts in the near future.
But we are still committed to this podcast. So we'll try and be a little bit more consistent when we have free time. Anyways, so let's preface the topic. What is the New York state of mind? Do you want to?
Sure. So the New York state of mind I would describe as essentially what your perspective is on New York City. Now, there are many different perspectives that you can have, even if you're not from here. But today we're going to be going over four different perspectives of four different times. We have Billy Joel's New York state of mind. We have Frank Sinatra's New York, New York, otherwise known as Theme from New York, New York. We have Nas's NY state of mind. And we have Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind. So today we're going to be going over these four songs to discuss these four different perspectives on New York City, as well as delving into our own perspectives of New York City and how that may compare to the perspectives that we go over today.
Yeah, perfectly said. So without further ado, we're gonna dive in. First up is Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. So before we go into the song's content, I feel like I owe you guys an explanation. I feel like I say owe you guys a lot. But let's talk about who is Billy Joel, so you guys have a little bit more context, all right? He was born May 9th, 1949. I don't have his star sign, but you guys feel free to let us know. He's 75 years old, so he's up there. But he's an American singer-songwriter and pianist. He made Piano Man, so you guys know that song. Everyone knows that song. Born in the Bronx, but he was raised out in Long Island, Hicksville, and he started getting really popular in like the 70s, the 80s, but he continues to perform at Madison Square Garden. So his music's like huge.
It's timeless in a way.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit more into the song's content. Do you want to take that over, should
Sure, I'll start it and then I'm sure you can add on. So, as far as New York State of Mind goes, while a lot of what we would consider New York City songs are very glamorizing, very talking about the shining city on a hill, sort of, Billy Joel's New York State of Mind is more, it gives a more homey feeling to it. It describes what a day-to-day New Yorker lives through. Like, I'm I'll quote the song here. I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. He isn't really one for the luxury of New York City. Rather, he describes everything about it that makes him feel at home in the city. Now, it's a lot more comforting, a lot more romantical, rather than full on glamour like the other songs we might be discussing. And essentially, it compares New York City to a lot of these other big cities, and talking about how this one just makes him feel more
At home?
at home. I wanted to say that, but I feel like I've been saying that a lot.
No, it's...
It just makes him feel more comfortable, like he can just be a regular human.
Yeah, and you see that a lot throughout the entire song. I mean, he compares it to Hollywood and Riverside, but it's just not quite New York's energy. New York is very unique, and he explains how much he loves it for that way. Song became really popular because I guess a lot of people can relate to that. You have a lot of people who are working 9 to 5s who have either out in Long Island or in the metro area who experience New York City day by day, and I think it just hits home for a lot of those people. So it just like Ishan said, it just romanticizes New York City, and that's that. I mean, it's a timeless song. You guys should definitely listen to it. I love it. I listen to about it like once a week, twice a week, on the car, or in the car rather. But it's just like one of those songs. You have anything else, or should we just go into the next one?
I would say that I think for its time, it's a very good song, and there just wasn't enough exposure to how regular New Yorker lives, really. Like everyone kind of saw it as this big hub of trade. Like it's so chaotic, but sometimes people just forget what it's like to just be a regular New York City native. And I think this song is great at doing that.
Yeah.
hmm
Wow, that was actually pretty quick. We're going to Sinatra.
yeah, I would say that. I mean, there's not really much to
Yeah.
discuss about this. It's a very nice, touchy-feely song. Now, very big opposite of that, we have Sinatra's New York, New York. Very boisterous, very glamorizing. The jazz, the brass will hit you in the face, talking about how good New York City is, how big of a shining city on a hill it is.
Every big band song does that,
hmm
and that's just what Sinatra is known for. I mean, it's probably New York's strongest anthem. I'm a Yankees fan, and at the end of every Yankees home game, now it's changed to at the end of every Yankees win, it'll play New York, New York, and it's just engraved in New York culture, New York sports culture. It's just one of those things. You'll see it constantly sung in public. It's on social media all the time. It's New York, New York. Um,
So we have a lot about chasing dreams, about a lot about ambition, about how you can make it here. Quote unquote, if I can make it here, I'll make it anywhere. I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps. It's talking about New York as just this amazing land of opportunity, and essentially, you suck if you're not here.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've all learned it. I don't know if you took AP US history, but like, if you take any US history course, it's you hear the term, oh, like a lot of immigrants, a lot of people were told New York City streets were paved with gold. And this
Yes,
song
yes.
kind of just does that. It's pretty much reinforcing that whole idea where it's like New York is the place to be. It is the greatest city in the world, and there's nothing quite like it. So,
Yeah. Now, a lot of these songs of the time, they were very similar to this one. I mean, this one I would argue did it best for its time,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there were a lot of songs like it. Unfortunately, these two songs didn't cover the reality of what every New Yorker had to
That's a good
face.
transition. That was a good transition. You just thought of that?
Dude,
That was a good transition. I didn't even think of that.
you have to do transitions. That's something that I learned in or not learned, had to prepare myself for
That
when I was
was
doing my
that was
speech and
clean.
debate course.
That was clean. Not to ruin it because I feel like I just did that. But
Nah, it's all right. Thank you for
yeah,
the compliment.
these
Comments, you
songs.
better compliment me
Yeah,
at as hard or even harder than he did.
I'm really good at gassing people up. Anyways, but like Ishan was
Just
saying,
saying I didn't do that
what?
good of a job.
No, you did. That was a clean
All right,
transition. I'm so
Nas,
okay,
Nas,
yes, all right, fine.
Illmatic.
So, like Ishan was just saying, those songs romanticized New York, but it didn't do a perfect job at explaining every perspective of what New York is. And Nas does a great job of flipping those songs right back on its head and saying, "Hey, this is what the New York state of mind actually is." So should I keep going?
I'll take over.
Bet.
All right.
I like my coffee.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
my coffee.
He gets to drink his espresso while I fast all day. So New York State.
Sorry.
Yo, this fool drinking espresso with straight sugar. He drunk all his milk last night.
Man, this is still good. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I'm about to jostle that shit out of your face, stain all these.
All right, man.
fucking
Back to Nas.
All right, so Nas and his song "NY State of Mind," kind of a nod at Billy Joel's song of practically the same name. Unfortunately, the hell. This song was released about 20 years after Billy Joel's song in '94. Now, in the '90s, New York City is or was very, very dangerous, or at least parts of it, especially where Nas grew up in Queensbridge. At the time, one of the most dangerous projects of all New York
Housing
City.
projects of all. Yeah, pretty much what he said. It's
Yeah,
Queensbridge
I
wasn't
fumbled
the
my
best-
words there.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
alright. Queensbridge wasn't the best place to be in the '90s. Can I
Uh,
or do you want to go?
can I talk a little bit more about the
Go
history?
for it. Go for
I'm
it.
sorry.
No. It's cool. It's cool. I'm excited. It's the coffee. Go.
Well, in the 90s, just to give some context about how dangerous it was, just in 1990, there were 2,245 recorded murders, the highest in all of New York City's history. So this is like at the peak of just gang activity, of just crime in general. And while the crack cocaine epidemic was beginning its decline, I would argue, this is just going off of like what I know about
Yeah.
history. I would argue that that epidemic is what led to like all this dangerous crime spiking. Like it didn't necessarily happen at the same time, but since the crack cocaine epidemic was starting to die down, I would argue crime was rising as a
Can
result
I
of
go
it.
on a little tangent? Just start off
Yeah,
here.
I did as well.
If you want to know more about or you want to see more perspectives about the whole crack cocaine epidemic, this isn't necessarily in New York, but if you want to see a show that's great, I've been telling you about this. I gotta plug it.
Nah.
But you want to see a show that kind of shows the perspective of how it was in Los Angeles. It was heavily inspired by real events by Highway Rick Ross, who was one of the largest cocaine suppliers in Los Angeles. You should definitely watch Snowfall. It is an insanely good show. I started it in early February. I've been telling him to watch it for. Did you start it? I
Dude,
gave him my Hulu and everything.
I'm aware. I have shit that I'm doing
Alright,
right
fine.
now.
Anyways, it is an insanely good show. I highly recommend you guys watch Snowfall because it kind of just takes you into what the whole like how the crack cocaine epidemic sort of started and its effect on like so many different communities, not just in Los Angeles but around the entire country. So, yeah, but back into New York State of Mind.
Sorry, you mentioned Rick Ross at some point.
Highway Rick Ross was his name. I don't think
And
it was
he's the
same
largest
Rick Ross.
one?
He was the largest crack cocaine.
Yeah, and Rick Ross is the largest, period.
Okay, bro.
Anyways,
Okay, bro.
I just
That
had
was,
to
that was
say.
that was not even. Okay. I'm gonna rescind my earlier compliment. With the clean
Wow. Okay, yeah, no, I'll transition out of that. Now, giggling in your cup, dickhead.
This coffee's good.
Yeah, I bet it is.
I'm sorry.
You click your tongue at that shit too. Yo, I'm about to bang your fucking brains in. So enough context. Let's go over the song itself and the lyrics. I'll let you take that.
Yeah. Like I said before, the song itself contrasts from like Billy Joel, Sinatra's idea of New York State of Mind, and it focuses a lot more on survival instead of just opportunity, right? In the previous two songs, like Sinatra was like, if I can make it here, I'll make it anywhere, or like Billy Joel, which kind of just romanticized living your daily life in like suburbs New York, right? Having your 9 to 5, that little quaint life. Nas just flips it on his head. He pretty much says, and I mean, pretty much calling out Billy Joel, and he says, like, I think of crime when I'm in the New York State of Mind. I mean, one of the lines says, I'll never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. So it's like one of those things where it just captures the paranoia, the dangers of living life in New York City, or different parts of New York City in this time.
Yeah, I mean, as glamorizing as Billy Joel made the city out to be, Nas views it much more differently, talking about how it's kind of a war zone, quote unquote, hand me a nine and I'll defeat foes. So, screw the land of opportunity. There is an opportunity to die at any given point.
Yeah.
Which is kind of going off the I'll never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. You never know when you could just get, like, shot in your sleep. Or shot at all.
Yeah. So it's just, and again, you have to keep in mind where Nas was growing up, and that's I think a huge part of why there's so many different contrasting ideas because each corner of New York City is incredibly different from the next. So, I mean, I think Nas kind of just made this song to kind of again flip the other two on its head and be like, hey, this is what you guys think, this is what I see, and live.
This is my New York State of Mind. Now, this was made around the 90s, so it's not so modern anymore, but the issues that Nas faced are still prevalent in some parts of New York City. But that being said, New York City still isn't this war zone, nor is it this golden city. I would say that it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
I would say that we're one of the strongest cities in the world, we're one of the most influential cities in the world, but we have our fair share of nasty things going on. And I think Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind has a very good way of addressing both.
I talk about the good, you talk about the bad.
We could talk about both too, but if you have more to say about
I
the
have more
good,
to say about the good because whenever I listen to the song, and that's the thing, I've only just started paying attention to lyrics because of this podcast, but I always saw this song as like Alicia Keys pretty much romanticizing New York again. Jay-Z romanticizing New York again. I mean, you guys have heard the memes about like what people outside of New York hear the song as, where it's just Jay-Z listing random places in New York City. I kind of thought the same way, where it's like, oh, you know, now I'm at Dunkin', now I'm at Yankee Stadium, now I'm in Brooklyn, now I'm in
Now
Tribeca.
I'm at Fifth Street. Now I'm up
Yeah,
at Sixth Street.
exactly.
Now I'm at Seventh Street.
That's
These
literally
streets all have
what I thought
numbers.
the song was prior to like paying attention to the lyrics, and that's what a lot of people still think of it. I mean, the chorus or the pre-chorus is, these streets will make you feel brand new, the lights will inspire you, right?
Well,
It's
yeah, just listening to
the
that.
concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Like, you can't get more, like, this is the place to be, and it's back to that whole like streets are paved to gold mindset. So it's that. But in contrast, no.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Well, just going off that one lyric, these streets will make you feel brand new, the lights will inspire you. I feel like that in itself is a good just dichotomy of the split of New York City. These streets will make you feel brand new, as in you'll be exposed to like a whole new like perspective
Yeah.
when you're actually in the streets. And what the streets are really depends on just where you've been in New York City. To some people like Billy Joel, it's somewhere in Riverside, or where did he talk about?
No, he's those are cities outside of New York.
Oh no, yeah, that's not what I meant then.
But I mean,
Where-
he
where-
grew up on Long
Yeah,
Island. I
yeah.
mean,
So like the streets where he might have actually frequented, and with the streets that Nas might have frequented, again, at the end of the day, you're gonna be having a new perspective, whether that's good or bad. Now, and the lights will inspire you. That's kind of still glamorizing New York City, sure, but it's taking a more realistic tone, I would say. It's hard to say it's realistic considering just how golden this song sounds. But if you pay attention to some of the lyrics, you'll see that it's not all so bright. For example, Jay-Z, he was actually part of the Macy projects growing up. He had in Brooklyn. He was a drug dealer, and so some of that trauma still sticks with him, such as in lyrics like, "I used to cop in Harlem, all my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway." I mean, he was a drug dealer in part of an underground economy. He was just trying to survive, just like Nas. And it's kind of a nod to some rougher realities. And not just that, while it is a land of opportunity, it is also a land of uncertainty, quote unquote. 8 million stories out there in the naked city. It's a pity half of y'all won't make it. Now, we also see just not just crime, but also there's a little nod to sexual exploitation as well. "Quote unquote, mommy took a bus trip, now she got her bust out. Everybody ride her, just like a bus route." Wow, I sound so white saying that like that. But yeah, it is an unfortunate.
no, it's just you remind me of my first year seminar professor.
I remember that.
Last semester, my fall semester at St. John's, my first year seminar professor, she was quoting Tupac, and I said it like she did because I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of the coffee, but she recites some line from Tupac, and then she goes, "Yes, in the words of this urban poet," and then she says the
Urban
line, but she reads it like it's like the Constitution or something like that. It sounded so wrong, and she goes, "Yes, but I forgot what this urban poet's name was." Urban poet.
Urban
and
poet.
There was one black kid in the class, and he goes,
You mean Tupac?
"Is that supposed to be Tupac?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yes, Tupac." And I'm in the back of the class. I'm like, trying to keep my shit together because I don't want to laugh at this
I
woman.
feel like I'd be straight cheesing as you said
Exactly.
that. So back on
Yeah, sorry about that. That was just like,
So back on topic. While Empire State of Mind is very much the kind of modern day New York City anthem, I mean, everybody's heard it. New York. While that is very much the modern song for New York City, pretty much everyone outside New York City and in New York City has heard it. That's what they kind of associate it with. It's not entirely just lights and concrete jungle. It's very much kind of, it's a chaotic bag, but we love it.
yeah, and I think that's why it became sort of like the new anthem for New York City. I feel like everyone's able to appreciate it. Like across like I guess demographics, because there's a little something in the song that everyone's able to be like, yeah, that's my experience of New York. I mean, with like Billy Joel, Sinatra, like Nas literally made a new song entirely to say like, hey, what about us? And then if you're listening to just Nas's New York State of Mind, you're like, this is just two I mean, some people might find it too dark and gritty. I mean, whether it's the truth, I mean, it's the truth. It's his experience. But like me, I grew up in Northern Queens. I don't know like half of what he's experiencing. So I feel like Jay Z's Empire State of Mind or Jay Z and Alicia Keys' Empire State of Mind, it kind of takes the both and blends it into something that everyone's able to like vibe with and understand, and I think that's why it's like the new anthem for New York.
Yeah. Beautifully said, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just came up with that. But while these are these great artists' perspective in about New York, I wanted to take some time and talk about our own perspectives with New York. I grew up in Whitestone, Queens, Eshan.
I'm from Flushing.
So relatively really close, but when we travel around New York City, we go to very, very different places. So we've experienced very, very different things. I've always considered myself more of a Long Island kid because it's easier to travel over there, park my car and stuff like that. Ishan.
I would say I'm much more centralized to the city. I like to keep around northern Queens. I like to go to Bronx as well. City sometimes.
So yeah, and even in Manhattan, we go to very, very different places. I tend to like hang out around like Hudson Yards. You absolutely despise Hudson Yards.
Yeah, I really don't like Hudson Yards. It feels like a ghost town there, man.
So, let's just jump right into it. What does the New York State of Mind mean to you?
So, the New York State of Mind to me, it's, you know, it's very much influenced by these songs, but it's also influenced by my own actual, like, observations. So, I think who would do the speaking better for me than, well, I'm leading into a quote, essentially. There's someone I want to quote about basically what my state of mind means. It's a quote from John Steinbeck. He's a Nobel Peace Prize laureate and novelist, where he says, quote unquote, New York is an ugly city, a dirty city. Its climate is a scandal. Its politics are used to frighten children. Its traffic is madness. Its composition is murderous. But there is one thing about it. Once you have lived in New York and it has become your home, no place else is good enough. And I feel like that quote just summarizes exactly what I think of New York City. It is, for lack of a better word, kind of a hellhole. I mean, every single day, there's always something insane going on. Like, remember, just a few months ago, we were seeing bodies in bags being led out of the subway. It's practically insane sometimes how much of a madhouse this city is. And while there are those, like, not even negatives, just completely just downsides, it's still my home, and it's still somewhere that I love, and I can't imagine leaving.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of hit a little like close to home for me. For context, my parents are divorced, and when I was going into high school, I had the option to move upstate with my mother and live upstate, not in New York City, for high school, and she lives in Orange County in New York. So, but I passed that up because I mean, despite and granted, I was still young, so I didn't really know about all the like you said, downsides or horrors of New York City and all these like bad things. I still couldn't quite give it up because, like the quote said, no place is really good enough for me. And even now, like when I talk about like life when I'm older and where I see myself living, like I always said like I has to be near like New York City. I mean, even if I'm living in a suburb, I can't give up the city because there's nothing like this. So that hit really close to home for me. But I have a little bit of something for myself for as far as the New York State of Mind. A little bit more context about myself. I'm really, really mixed. You make fun of me a lot for it.
Yeah, you want to be everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I have a huge bunch of like I have a lot of cards in my deck, I guess, as far as where I'm from, but or my family's from, but I think I'm a living testament to how much of a melting pot New York City is.
All those cards and you're still not a straight.
Okay, bro. Dude, yo.
It took me a second to think.
Yo, I'm clipping that too.
Yo,
that was good. That was good.
No, but I didn't mean to interrupt your text.
That's so messed up. Anyways,
please continue.
I'm a living testament to how like much of a melting pot New York City is. And for context, on my father's side, my paternal grandfather is Italian. My paternal grandmother is Puerto Rican. I'm no sabo though, so don't start speaking Spanish to me because I don't understand none of that.
Tienes autismo. You're
I
saying?
understood autism
No, no, you
enough,
didn't.
but okay, bro. And then on my mother's side, I'm Guyanese, so it's like Guyanese, Italian, Puerto Rican. It's a pretty wild mix, but that's me. And even then, I think one of those things is I haven't really I haven't really 100% connected to each culture because I feel like New York in itself is just one entire culture. And just being from here alone is like I think enough for me, but it's just one of those like crazy places. But that's what the New York State of Mind means to me. I think it's like a huge melting pot where everyone's able, no matter where you're from, everyone's really able to connect. Like, of course, you have your communities, but like in school, I wrote like one of my supplementals about this when I was applying to universities. But it feel like going to school alone, it's like you're listening to Spanish music while you're passing Chinese restaurants, but you smell Dominican food and Indian food right next to each other, and it's just one of those things where it's like it's so many different cultures in one spot, and I think it's so cool because of that. Um, but I do want to go back into what you were saying about the whole like you said, hellhole of New York City. So I'm gonna drop some statistics on you, and you can tell me what you think. All right.
I.
So, according to New York Post, since 2018, there's been a 64% increase in shoplifting, 61% increase for burglary, and an 83% increase in robbery. Right. Overall, since 2019, there's just been a 30.5% increase in major crimes since 2019. I think I said 2019 already, but
Mm.
like, and we see it all the time. I mean, just recently, within the last 6 months, I mean, the CEO killing, right?
Yeah, we had Brian Thompson getting gunned down.
Um, Rest in peace, Sabrina Kowam, but she was lit on fire in the F train. So there's like a huge, like, lot of just these messed up, wrong things that are happening in the city, and I feel like it's becoming a little bit more prevalent. What do you think of that?
I would say that it's it is New York City. It's been happening, and while we have these increase in all these very bad things that are happening, it's very in line with how New York City has been. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's not a good thing. I think at the end, how it comes down to is really just the enforcement of certain things. Like personally, I did not like the mayor. I do not like the
Eric
current mayor.
Adams?
Yeah,
Nobody
I don't.
likes
I don't
him.
think anyone does, and I think he's done a very bad job of addressing a lot of these things. And so, if the people in charge are going to remain incompetent, I don't think we're going to be seeing an improvement in anything. We're going to see more unfortunate victims like Debrina Kawan. We're going to see more small businesses getting robbed and ransacked. We're going to see people get shot more often if the leadership is going to stay incompetent. That's my take
Yeah,
on it.
honestly, and I mean, I don't think many people are gonna disagree with you. And if you're talking about like crimes like that, I don't want to say personal experience, but like very very close to where we attend school. We go to St. John's University, but very very close on the Clearview Expressway and I think the 73rd Avenue by Cunningham
Ooh,
Park.
this is a
There was a
this
body
is a dark
found.
story.
Yeah, there's a body found hogtied, which I think's just like incredible, not in a good way. It's just like so you see a lot of these things. I see people comparing New York City to like Gotham City a lot. Granted,
And
Gotham.
that's not a
No,
good
no, it's not a
thing.
good thing at all. I mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, Gotham City was inspired by New York, but it. I mean, DC and all these comics and all these places, all fiction kind of exaggerates all these aspects, but people are thinking that it's now just a lot more realistic, and I think that's crazy, especially in recent times. So yeah, no, I don't think many people are gonna disagree with you when you say like we need good leadership, of course, because it's just one of those things where it's like, I mean, something's gotta happen, or something's gotta change. And then I wanted to ask you about, what do you think of like hate crimes that are happening in the city? I mean, within the past 4 or 5 years we've experienced, I mean, not we've experienced, but we've seen in New York City there's been people committing crimes against the Asian community, people committing crimes against Jews, Muslims alike. I mean, it's just there's a whole lot happening, and I want to ask you how you feel about that because I feel like you're a lot more educated than I am.
So when it comes to hate crimes, well, obviously there's nothing good to say about them. It's a very bad thing to happen, which water is wet take, I know, but I guess I have, like you said, a lot more personal things to talk about. I mean, I'm a Muslim growing up in a post 9/11 world in New York City, the city where it happened, And so, growing up, I've had my fair share of things being thrown at me, that actual physical violence, um, words, everything like that. And frankly, I think what it falls down to is just how people educate themselves, really. I mean, we see in like very accessible media, like news sources, we see a lot of different highlights of certain POCs, or not highlights, like they like to highlight crimes by POCs a lot more often. They like to paint it in a much more negative way. And while I'm not saying that white white people do them as well, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that just the more POCs get highlighted for doing these, and shit, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, you're not. No.
Let me bring it back to what I was trying to say. Sorry about that.
What are you talking about? It's cool.
Nah, I was just going over my words a lot. But I would say because of the highlighting by media, whether it's news media or just social media, I would say that kind of puts in a lot of people's minds that certain races, certain ethnicities, certain identities are much more susceptible to crime or doing crime or just being generally not well. And that's kind of what goes through people's minds when they decide to do these heinous acts. And so I would say what's to blame is not so much the person themselves, but just how we're educating people on how we should treat those different from each other.
Do you think it's like a media thing, or it's something where it's like how they're brought up more? Like,
It's both. It's both. I mean, media isn't something that's like, modern. Media's been a thing since ages before us, and so the ideas get planted in the parents. Those ideas of hate get passed down to children, and this cycle of hate keeps going and going and going. And at some point, you don't even know why you hate a certain group of people, but everyone around you always has, so you're going to do it too.
yeah, I think I have to agree with that. I mean, there's not much to say against it. I mean, I know when I was younger, and I'm talking about like elementary school, I didn't even think there was differences between me and other people because we're all just so innocent
Mm-hmm.
at that age, and you don't really think much about that. But then you kind of grow these stigmas against other people as you get older and as different things are being told to you, taught to you, instilled in you. I guess these like wrong ideas about different people and different stigmas like that. So, I think it gets to a point where it's like you got to, again, like you said, be educated
Mm-hmm.
about what you think, what you do, or yeah, no, what you think before you do something, because I think with hate crimes especially, I think it's just people who are uneducated and they take their actions way too far. I mean, I can't really speak to it like it's happened to me, but I mean it's just common knowledge. Like during COVID and everything, there was a huge hate against, or a huge amount of hate towards Asian Americans. People, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, people are getting pushed in front of trains over this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I remember this news
It
story.
was it was an insane time to or insane thing to kind of experience or watch in the news and stuff like that, because it's like why? But I think a lot of people were pushing like the wrong idea, especially like you said in media and stuff like that. I mean, I mean, the term kung flu and shit like that. Like
Yeah,
it's
we had the term China virus being spouted by our own president at the time. I mean, what's more influential than that into
yeah.
inspiring the wrong ideas? And I guess I just wanted to say something more personal. If it wasn't for me actively wanting to educate myself to get over confirmation bias, I would probably be like racist towards pretty much everyone because that's kind of how my parents were. I mean, even now they'll just casually say something that they don't like about Chinese people, about Hindu people, about black people. If it wasn't for me actively wanting a different perspective, actively pursuing something outside of what I've been told my whole life, I would be just like that. And can you relate to that at all?
I can. I mean, I'll say I'm consider myself lucky because a lot of people think I'm half white. My dad's white. I mean, I know I said before that um, I'm quarter Italian, quarter Puerto Rican, but like we're very light skinned, so I kind of get away with a lot. People think that I'm literally just Italian. So I think I'm fortunate in most scenarios, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm tan, I'm brown, I'm Guyanese too. So it's like one of those things where it's like depending on the community you're with, you'll kind of be treated different. It kind of sucks. I mean, we live really close to Flushing, and I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I've been looked down upon by like different people who are like business owners or Asian owned businesses, stuff like that. People thinking that like I'm trying to steal stuff. That's happened to both me and one of my friends once. We got searched.
Yeah,
Um,
that happened with the. I don't know if I want to say his name.
yeah. So like we were searched because they thought we sold an energy drink from a pharmacy. So like stuff like that where it happens, and you're kind of like, what the hell? Because I'm no different from the person next to me. But it's just something like that where it's like, it kind of sucks, but I still think I'm luckier than most.
Hmm.
Because again, like I'm able to get away with a lot more because I'm able to pull that like white card sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I want to transition away from crime just a little bit. And personal experience. Not to take away from what we were just saying, unless you have more to go
No,
into.
I think I covered everything that I wanted to talk
All right.
about.
And I wanted to talk more about the cityscape, and by that I mean when people, context. I'll be scrolling through TikTok, and I see like these things where it's describing different areas or cityscapes like urban hell. And a lot of these will consider New York City an urban hell. Um, and just the city as a whole. And I wanted to ask what you thought about that.
So our definitions of urban hell are different, but I would say they have a lot in common. So, real quick, go over what you think of an urban
We
hell.
define in our terms.
Yeah,
All right.
uh-huh.
So I always considered, I mean,
You can give an
urban,
example as well.
like I would say that whole like most closely associated with like that brutalist architecture, I'd say, with stuff like that. But also, I would say just like typically very rundown communities. I mean, I always pictured one, and I think it's because it's like I see it on TikTok the most, or like when I see urban hell, I always see, people say urban hell. I always see it on TikTok,
Kind
where
of a
it's
buzzword nowadays,
yeah,
isn't it?
right.
I should
And
delete
it's
that.
always like those AC units hung out of like every single window, of like garbage everywhere, stuff like that, where it's just like there's too many people, it's very crowded. Or actually, we learned about this in my class. You ever see those? This happened in like the 1930s. I want to say when there was a huge immigration boom, but how the other half lives. You ever see
Yes,
the
yes,
photos
yes.
from
We went
that?
over that.
I'll put up photos, but describing, but that I always kind of like thought of
Hmm.
and associated with urban hell.
So for me, some of those stay the same, but while you associate overcrowding with urban hell, I would say the exact opposite is kind of urban hell. I would say that abandoned buildings, squished together, soulless, without a trace in sight, that's what I associate more with urban hell. I would say that we have brutalist architecture, sure, but more just abandoned architecture, buildings that are in place just for nothing, ghost cities, even. This is urban hell. Not in walkable cities, cities that have abandoned, just straight up vegetation. That's urban hell to me. You'll see these kind of like ghost cities in China, for example, skyrise buildings all over, dotting the whole city, but not one soul. That's what I would consider urban hell. Something soulless, something solely there to just exist, to serve no purpose to anyone but to take up space.
Do you think there's a specific cause in that?
Yes, I would say one of the causes in what I consider urban hell is the renovation with the idea that people would be living there, but then raising the costs of living so that nobody wants to be there.
Is that like what you consider gentrification to be?
Nice transition, nice transition, but no,
Oh,
half of that.
okay, okay.
Because gentrification occurs in neighborhoods where people are already established, but then the cost of living are increased to therefore kick people out because they can't afford to live there. They can't afford to set up shop there. The business isn't booming because nobody wants to be there because prices are too high. You essentially kick a whole community out and replace them with a whole different demographic. That's gentrification.
Okay. But urban hell, you would consider like you think gentrification could be
A product
a pro. How
or
do you
not
say?
They correlate.
A cause, or like yes, they correlate. You think it
Yes.
could be a cause, but it's not always the cause of urban hell, because urban hell itself is just desolate land.
Urban hell, I would argue, can be a consequence of gentrification. I mean, there's still gentrified communities that have a lot of people, a lot of vegetation. They thrive, but it's still gentrification.
This is why you dislike Hudson Yards so much.
Hudson Yards to me feels very soulless. You'll see a lot of these buildings, they're very empty.
Yeah.
They're kind of just present to block the view. I mean, and it's not very walkable either. I don't know if you've ever been there, but like,
Yeah.
it's just road.
No, I understand. I understand what you mean. Plenty. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now I have to ask, because they're developing land right by us, and like I said, we live in northern Queens, but they're
Before that, sorry. Can we talk a little bit more about gentrification?
Go for it.
You got me on a tangent.
No, go for it.
I have studied gentrification since high school, and I sound very pretentious when I'm talking about it.
Before we do that, wait, just give me 2
Damn,
seconds.
before
I need to
on
get a
before.
water.
All right, yeah, we'll do a little break.
Just 2-minute break, not even.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask if you need anything. Do you need anything? Like, we'll take a leak or whatever.
No, I'm fine.
You can talk to the camera. You can keep going. Just grab a water real quick.
All right. So he doesn't know this, but Tommy
No, not
secretly
shit
has.
talking. I mean, like, genuine, like, if you're
Tommy secretly has a giant bulbous 7-inch diameter big bump on the back of his back. It's an alien parasite. He doesn't tell you this. The literal media won't tell you that. All right. Hey, welcome back.
Sorry, I'm back, everyone. Sorry, I just need to get some water.
I hope what I said picked up on the. I think it did. I have no idea.
I don't know what you said, but I'm gonna probably fucking edit it out.
No, you can't. The people need to know this.
Okay. Back to gentrification.
All right, you got your water. You got your.
I got my
fucking
water.
privilege?
We're waiting on. Oh, fuck!
I want to see it.
Uncool, man.
Did it actually hit you?
No, you're really
Okay,
close,
we're good. I was aiming for like something above. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut that out too.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as gentrification goes, I've studied this stuff since high school, and I've had it happen to me specifically. I mean, my family used to own a store in Parkchester in the Bronx. Now this neighborhood's very diverse. We have a lot of Bengalis, but a lot of African Americans. We have a lot of Dominicans. I don't remember the Dominican, Hispanics, and
Papi, I know blah.
yeah,
Papi,
like
I know blah. Dominic.
You done? He's on 4 espressos, guys. You should have had Americanos just for
I
diluted
don't
a
like
little bit.
I don't know. My ex-girlfriend loved Americanos. I think they're disgusting.
Oh, so that's why.
That's not why. I
I'll
don't like
never
them. I hated
have
them
an
before
Americano
her.
again. They'll remind me too much of Susan.
Man. No, I
Man.
just don't like it. It's like diluted.
Alright.
Like, coffee's already bean water, and you're gonna fucking dilute it more. Like, make it make fucking sense.
The Italian came out there.
Is that really? I'm sorry. Like, genuinely.
Make it make fucking sense.
That wasn't that was more of a New York thing.
Yeah, that's
Fuck!
why the New York state of mind, fucking around with espressos.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm
You're like
only
the-
quarter Italian, but like I think I got the New York accent from like my dad. and
He's the
sometimes
Italian American Alex Jones over here.
Okay, bro. Sometimes it comes out a little bit thicker than usual, but it's only when we talk about specific keywords. Like if you're talking about like if I say coffee, fuck!
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yo, say butter.
Butter. Man. That it codes. I don't know. Like I unintentionally like code switch.
No,
sometimes.
that's fine. I do that shit as well. Like you'll hear me whenever I get mad. I start to get really New York, and
Yeah.
like,
Or, like, if
you
you speak-
point it out, and I'm immediately not mad anymore. I'm just fucking laughing at myself.
Yeah. Or like sometimes if you hear me, I'm sorry, we're going on a little bit of a tangent, but sometimes if you hear me talking with my family, like the West Indian side of my family, I sound a lot more like Caribbean. I would say it's just a code switch. Depending on who I'm with, my accent sort of changes a little bit. The one thing I haven't nailed down, I'm taking Korean in college, and I can't pronounce words in Korean properly at all.
He says like a New Yorkie.
Huh? Yeah, no, exactly. And like my professor, like she.
안녕하세요.
Yeah, 안녕하세요. It sounds more. country.
안녕하세요. It sounds mean.
Yeah.
What was that? Did your Alexa just go off?
Nah. Now I'm worried. Shake Shack just sent me a message.
Fuck, you got Shake Shack on speed dial for?
My fault.
Fat bitch.
Am I hearing voices or is that you?
No.
Did you join a voice call on Discord by any chance?
I hope not. No, I'm not in any voice call. My phone's over there. It's the headset.
Oh, okay.
I told it not to.
No, it's fine.
Oh, hang on.
But the mics
Okay,
aren't picking up.
I turned it off.
Sorry about that. Okay, now
We're
done
gonna
with the
edit that
break.
out, obviously.
No, it's fine. Let it be.
No. Okay.
It's just one of those
It's
things.
just us
Alright,
very
break
confused.
is now officially over.
The ghost of gentrification came for us.
They didn't want us talking about it, so.
The ghosts that live in Hudson Yards, they came for us.
Hudson Yards, I think, is a great place.
Yeah, because you're a slave to consumerism. Anyways, gentrification. Now, I was talking about Parkchester, Bronx. Now, it happened to us, unfortunately. The cost of living got way too high. Now, I had a great presentation about this in high school, but none of you were in my high school class. You guys don't get to accept
You went
that.
to Bronx Science.
Yeah, I'm not smart, though. Don't. Just because I went to a good-ass school doesn't mean I'm smart. I was dumb among smart people. So that just makes me mid. Anyways, I had like all these charts and all these things. You guys don't get that. Because this isn't great.
Can you go on with the fucking gentrification thing, like, genuinely? I want to talk about City Field.
Me. I like sports. So it happened in Parkchester. We had like a 50% increase in prices in just like 2 years. And like a lot of places nearby got replaced with like chain stores. For example, there was this very mom and pop 99-cent store on the corner of like that little not metropolitan circle, like the little circle that makes up Parkchester right by the station. It was replaced with a Chipotle, which, get this, in just a month got beneath 3 stars. How do you fuck up as a Chipotle that bad that fast? There weren't just like one review, it was like 20. And they replaced.
It's just tragic.
They replaced a generational store. And then right next to us, one of the stores got replaced with a Five Below, which, I mean, they did better, obviously. But like these big brands moving in to take place in where originally mom and pop shops were, where the local community actually got to like sell and live. Shit. Sorry. Lost track of what I was saying there for a second.
No, but I agree with you. I mean,
yeah, it happened to my father back in 2024, and unfortunately, that lot is still vacant. They haven't found something to fill it yet, and so it's very haunting. I don't go to Parkchester ever again because of that. But moving away from Parkchester, it happens all throughout New York City. I mean, it happened to the Lower East Side, especially with the bridges that they plan to build.
Astoria, it's happening. I drove. I mean, not to interrupt, but I drove past Astoria with my father.
You should lean in closer to your mic.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, bring it closer. Bring it close.
My bad.
Yeah, you good. You good.
So, my grandfather, when he used to live in New York City, they used to have a deli bodega type place in Astoria. And so my dad, of course, used to go by Astoria a lot. And they've since sold the deli, or the land, all the land that's associated with that. And every time I drive by there with my dad, maybe we'll go to Astoria Park, maybe we'll just cruise. He says it's changed so much. And one of the things he says that he misses the most about the city is small, like you said, mom and pop stores like that. Mm-hmm. And this is the quarter Italian in me, but my dad's like, Italian Americans, we cook a lot of Italian food. Right? And what goes better with Italian food than Italian bread? You can't find good Italian bread anymore. It's like small things like that is kind of upsetting.
The community knows how to make it. The chains only know how to fuck over the community that makes it.
And like that's the thing. Like we used to go to now we go to like Stop and Shop, or I'll go to ShopRite and stuff, and we'll try and find Italian bread, but it's like it's not the same. It's like one of those things where it's just like it's not it, and you don't have that like community. You don't have the freshly baked stuff. It's just like
it's happening all around the city. It's happening in Harlem in 125th Street. It's happening in my Flushing with the casinos being built nearby.
Is that the transition?
We could make it
Yeah,
the
that was a transition. That was a good transition.
It's
And
happening everywhere, but moving in on that casino bit,
yeah,
he
so
has a lot to
as
say
you
about
guys
that.
know, and this is partially because I'm a sports fan, so I stay a little bit on top of this stuff. But my father's a Mets fan. I'm the Yankees fan. I know I'm a disgrace, but
He disappoints his father regularly
don't tell him I like the
in many ways.
Rangers.
He also likes LeBron. His father likes
LeBron's
Jordan.
the fucking GOAT.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on this shit, man.
No,
Like, I
I'm
genuinely
saying
don't,
I agree with you.
swear to,
I
thank you.
agree with you. God, the New York. Fuck me.
Yeah, I know it happened to me too. But like, LeBron's better than Michael Jordan. I
Yeah,
don't
but
care.
his father will never accept
Oh no,
that.
because my dad's like, oh, you should hear. I want to get a clip of my dad saying this. He's like, I swear to fuck, LeBron's just a fucking crybaby.
LeBron's
If you
a
put him in
crybaby.
If you put him in one game against Michael Jordan in that era with all the physicality, and he couldn't cry about some eyelash going on him for a fucking free throw, then he'd be totaled. LeBron wouldn't last a fuck. This is my dad. This is my dad speaking. I'm like, bro, you don't understand, Dad. You don't understand.
This sounds like any Goku versus argument I've heard.
Anyways, all right, back to Citi Field. Again, I'm a sports fan. I don't really care. I like the Mets too. I just like the Yankees a little bit more.
I couldn't give a shit.
Okay, bro. Anyways, so
Sorry.
around the whole Citi Field area, I would say it's in Flushing. You have a whole lot of open land, and you also have a whole lot of rundown land. There's a lot of empty I wouldn't say empty warehouses, but yeah, I guess empty garages, places where there's scrap yards, stuff like that. So they've been, for the past 6 years or so, they've been trying to develop a plan to kind of make things nicer, develop land a bit, build new stuff. So I mean, within the past 3 years, we've learned that they're planning on making a new stadium there. So aside from Citi Field, you also have Arthur Ashe for tennis. If you're into that, I love tennis as well. I used to play. Anyways, so you have Citi Field, Arthur Ashe, and all the U.S. Open lots. They're gonna build Etihad Park, I believe the name is, and that's for the New York City Football Club MLS team. So that should be cool. They're planning on making a bunch of Section 8 housing, which is low-income housing and stuff, and a couple new schools. I think it's a middle school and an elementary school in the area, which I think is great. Until they approved that they're planning on building casinos in Flushing near Citi Field to kind of get some gambling money with the sports. I personally disagree with that because I feel like casinos and that whole type of like culture brings an entire community down. Personally, I'm just not a fan of gambling. I'm good at poker. I like dealing the cards. I just don't like gambling myself. So I think there's a little bit of personal stuff there. But I think just in my experience in seeing areas of casinos, the areas surrounding the hotels, the casinos aren't necessarily the best places to live. And if you're planning on building low-income housing and schools and stuff, you don't really want, to come out of school and you see slots and shit like that. So it's just, I don't know. I don't personally agree with it.
I mean, most in Islam, gambling is very forbidden. So I already have my biases, but also, I would say that is a gross misuse of land that could be developed for much better things. I mean, why gambling? I get they're targeting people that are like sports betting as well, probably.
Yeah, and you see this a lot in sports. I mean, I'm hoping that the NBA doesn't allow it. I'm not a huge fan of basketball. I'll be honest, I don't follow it that well, but I do hear theories that the owners of I'm staying on topic.
Keep going.
The owners, I mean, there's theories that the owners of the Dallas Mavericks are like personally trying to like tank their team so they can move it to Vegas because there's a lot more money to be made when you have a team right next to casinos and stuff like that. I'm hoping that the NBA doesn't allow it, just like they disallowed, I think the city of Dallas disallowed the building of casinos next to the stadium. So it's kind of a shame that New York City okayed it, because like you said, I don't know, it's just not cool. But
I mean, yeah, why take away land that people could use for actual housing in a city that's very expensive part of the city that's very expensive to have housing. I mean, Flushing prices are not cheap whatsoever.
and that's another place I think has been changing a lot recently too.
They're victims of gentrification too. I mean, you don't see many big brands, thankfully, so it's not at that stage. But it was already expensive to live here to begin with. That being said, making more housing so that like people of lower incomes can still be near That would be ideal for so many different people. I mean, we have a literal like homeless epidemic.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
between that and just honestly, I think Flushing could use, not in a gentrification way. I mean, just it needs new buildings. It needs something new, and I think that would have been so beneficial. Just having, I noticed Flushing Meadows Park. That's nowhere near like Main Street Flushing, and when you think of like City Field and stuff like that, you think of Main Street Flushing because that's the place. That's how you get to City Field. So just having land developed there, making it nice. Parks would have been great. Not even just regular parks, but like skate parks, stuff like that. Things like that, just to help. So it kind of sucks. It's a little disappointing to see, but I mean, it's out of my hands. It's out
Well,
of
yeah,
yours.
obviously, yeah, we're not officials, but
But
I mean, just the very premise of it. I mean, taking away land meant for schools for casinos. I
Yeah.
mean, that's some like super villain shit, don't you think? Like that's
well,
something
no, they
Kingpin
didn't. They
would
didn't
do.
stop. From my knowledge, they didn't stop the whole like idea of building the MLS stadium, new housing, and new schools. So as far as I know, they're still planning on building both. They're just doing casinos as well. I just personally don't agree with having the casinos near schools.
I just don't
In
agree
any
with having the
capacity.
casinos at all.
Thank you.
I
Thank
just feel
you.
like they'd look ugly.
Thank you.
We don't need a Las Vegas Strip, especially not right here.
So, and and personally, I live right in front of the expressway, so it's just gonna just gonna be so much more traffic.
You're gonna have to see fucking Caesar's Palace when I'm trying to have a nice walk. Be like, yeah, people are losing their life savings open there.
But straying away from all the deep sadness, all the issues that we have with the city, because I feel like we spent the greater part of the last hour
Just talking, just
like
grieving.
shit talking the city.
We're just grieving,
Yeah,
not even
honest-
shit talking. It's just very
Like
much
we've been
facts.
talking about whether or not the city's safe, whether or not it's an urban hell, the gentrification and stuff like that. Let's talk about the positives and why I personally love the city. And this is kind of going back to what I initially said with what the New York State of Mind means to me. But I just wanted to talk about New York culture in general, right? And I feel like what brings people together more than food. I feel like it's a great place to start.
I mean, I should know a lot about that.
Is that like a fat joke?
Yeah,
you
it
made
was,
for
it
yourself?
was,
Oh, okay.
yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry. No, bro. I mean,
No,
I
no,
hit
no,
him up-
literally.
but
And
like,
also,
y'all don't understand. I hit him up for like good food spots all the time, and
All
when
my
I'm
friends
driving
do,
and I'm
and I'm
like,
really
listen,
happy.
like I want to go try someplace new to eat. He's the one that finds it, and it's so fucking good every time. So, I mean, I feel like you should take the lead on that.
sure. I mean, you said it best when like just how many cultures are make up New York City. I mean, you can drive anywhere and experience a whole different country, and it's great because we have all these different cuisines just a drive away. Not even over like 15 miles away. Especially coming from Queens, and especially Flushing as well, where just in this part of the city, I can access at least like 8 different cuisines.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where it's like, I mean, I'll just say it right up now. Queens is the most diverse place to be in the entire fucking world. Queens, New York.
You know what? I'm biased. I'll say it too.
It's
I'm
and
biased.
it's not even a biased thing. It's just, I mean, everyone, because I feel like there's so much residential stuff in Queens. When you think of like businesses and stuff like that, yeah, you're thinking of like Manhattan and stuff. That's the shit to do. That's where MSG is and stuff like that. But Queens, I think, has the community, and I think Queens has the most diverse. So when you're talking about food in Queens, it's a different place everywhere you go. Like you said, you can travel.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go over it just at the top of my head. We got North Queens, we got a lot of Asian cuisine. You go a little bit more south, we got a lot of Hispanic cuisine. You go a little bit to Astoria, you got Middle Eastern. You go to Jackson Heights, we got more Hispanic cuisine, but we also got a lot of Desi cuisine. I love Jackson Heights. He loves it too. I introduced him to Cha there. And then you go even more South Queens, you get Caribbean food. I mean, I found a halal Caribbean restaurant. Do you know how insane that is?
Just take a walk down Liberty Avenue, and you're gonna find about 10 different places. You're gonna love the food at each single one, and they do it differently each time. It's amazing.
You go okay, I'm gonna keep going.
keep going.
I'm gonna keep going. You go to East Queens, you're gonna see the country club food. Even if I mean, I'm not saying I would. Actually, no, fuck it, I'll eat it too. But like,
Hey,
you'll
no,
see-
honestly, yeah, because honestly, northern and eastern Queens, I'm talking about Clearview, I'm talking about northern parts of Bayside by the water and stuff. You're gonna find your good Italian restaurants, you're gonna find your good Greek restaurants and stuff like that. And we can cook. man.
Ah, dude, yes, yes. And then you go further east to Queens, you get into the weird part of Long Island where like
But like Great Neck?
it's just really flat.
Great Neck? Or like based on what you talking about?
Southeast Long Island.
Oh, like by like St. Albans and shit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They still got good food though.
It's still great food. I got food poisoning there once, but I loved it. Anyways, yeah, there's just you could access literally everything just in Queens, but like don't discount Bronx either. I mean, just Parkchester alone has some of the best like Latino food ever, right next to some of the best Desi food ever. I mean, and in that Desi neighborhood, some of the best Italian food I've had.
Yeah.
Like there's enclaves on enclaves on enclaves of food. And it sounds like I'm just being a big dick,
No,
but like,
please,
please,
it's true.
I can't get over just how diverse and just how lucky I am to experience so many different like worldly cuisines. I mean,
shit. We're just listing different places in the city, but it's honestly true.
I
When
mean,
you go
we're
to
not even
Brooklyn,
gonna talk about Manhattan.
like Manhattan's got all the great places. I mean, one of my friends has sent me a list, of just like places to go for food. One of my other friends,
I have one of
she
those,
has
too.
sent me a list of places that I gotta go check out and try food. So it's just stuff like that. And it's no bounds. I mean, there great places in Brooklyn. There's great places in Manhattan. I'm sure there's good places in Staten Island. I'm sure. That's where you find all your Italian delis. Let's be honest.
I forgot Staten Island was a thing. Keep going.
Hey, listen, Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.
But I mean, back to just food in general. Like it's that. Actually, you know what? Let's transition a little bit. Music.
I mean, yeah, let's do a cleaner transition to that. Come on.
Okay, fine.
I mean, we talk about all this diversity in cuisine, but it's not just food that we have a hunger for. It is culture, and what is a better way to express culture than with music? There we go.
You're so good at the transition game. I'm not even trying to gas you up anymore. It's just like you're like, hold on, I can do it better than you, and you just fucking went to it.
It's something that I've perfected ever since I had that speech
fucking
course.
public speaking course.
Yeah.
I gotta take it.
It's something that I've perfected myself.
But yeah, no music. If you've seen, I'll try and pull it up. I think one of the ads on the side of like the bus stops and stuff, it'll show which hip hop artist came from which part of Queens. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I've seen that.
Or not even
exact
Queens,
one.
just like New York
Just
City,
New York City,
in
yeah.
general. And it's cool, but it's not just hip hop. You have different people. I mean, I know a lot more about hip hop than I do other, like forms of art or other genres. But I mean, New York City's a hub for so much. I mean, we got, Lady Gaga. We got so many different jazz artists from New York City and stuff like
We have
that.
Jennifer Lopez. We have J-Lo.
Yeah, we have J-Lo. We have J-Lo, and I'm gonna hold that over.
We
everyone.
love J-Lo.
We got J-Lo. We got J-Lo. She don't know nothing about a bodega, but
The fuck is an orange drink?
if you know, you know. No, we do not know. Just stop. But
J-Lo, please, you're making us look bad. But we love you. We love you.
We love you.
Dance
She
the
insured
night
her
away.
ass too. Did you know that she insured her ass?
No, I thought you were just making a
could
very...
no.
You're just
I'm
making
not
a very
learning this from my
dirty
law-
joke.
No, I'm not even joking. So, a little bit of a tangent, but I learned
I
from
need
my
ass
law
insurance.
because in case I break, I don't really know. But yeah, no, she insured her butt. Apparently, I learned this from my law teacher that you apparently can get insurance for your butt.
Didn't PewDiePie break his butt once?
I don't know.
He probably should have done that. Should have asked J-Lo. That's very off topic. Let's go
Anyways,
back to music.
But yeah, no, we have like again like the Lincoln Center. We have Carnegie Hall. We have Barclays, MSG, where people constantly perform. When we were talking earlier about Billy Joel, he still performs to this day at MSG very, very often. So it's one of those things where it's like I think New York City is the hub for music. And if you have any artist who announces their world tour, I bet you New York's on that list. Whether it's the Barclays, whether it's MSG, or whether it's MetLife, the Meadowlands, it's here, right? Sometimes at UBS too. We have a lot of people performing at UBS Arena now.
What's that one arena in Central Park called?
The Summer Stage is the one I know, but there might be more.
Yeah, but
I
like
saw
they
Biba
perform
do
there.
this.
There's a stage everywhere for every borough, every area.
I'm not even talking about
Yeah.
popular artists. One of the things I used to do a lot with my friends is go into a subway and we'd perform our own music. And you see that very, very often too. I mean, anytime you travel in New York City, I bet you there's someone with a saxophone, a guitar, a microphone, an accordion, and they're just playing
There's
their
so
music.
much hidden talent, especially in the subways. They're very much hidden in a physical sense. Wow, I so fucking
It's
smart.
awesome. No, it's incredible.
Yeah,
Actually, from my experience in Tri-M, which was my high school music honor society, this was something that I was actually encouraging even people who were students at the high school to do. You can actually sign up and get permission from the city to perform at like Grand Central Stadium, and they'll set up a whole thing for you, and you'll get tips and you'll get stuff like that. And I think it's a really, really, really cool experience. Just all the different sounds you'll hear in the city.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when I think of music, I don't like in New York City. I think of these big artists, but I also think about that time I heard someone play Careless Whisper in the subway. I mean, you get so many different perspectives on music in New York City that everyone has a unique experience. I mean, I was entranced by this guy. I didn't have any money to leave a tip, unfortunately, but I think of so many different things when it comes to music in New York City.
Not
I mean,
even
what the
music.
big, the small, the middle. Sometimes it's just me fucking with a trombone. That's still New York City to me.
Not even like music alone. I think just arts in general. I mean, if we're sticking with the whole subway idea, you'll see people. I mean, I'm a huge fan of graffiti when it's done right. As long as it's not anything heinous, I think it's
And it's
cool.
also not fucking over small businesses.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a huge thing. I love when people do like street art murals and stuff like that. So I think it's really, really cool. But aside from just public displays of art like that, I think one of the most common things, or like if you say this out loud anytime, I'm gonna say it right now. When you hear people on the subway, in their subway car, and you hear, "What time is it? Showtime, showtime." What are you thinking? You don't know?
Just keep going.
Bro, you have people dancing in the subway cars, doing flips and stuff. You see the pole that you're supposed to hold on, and they're spinning around on it like
I do
crazy.
see this stuff,
And
yeah.
that's one of the things. You're just
New York
sitting on
City
a
is
train,
a
and all of,
wonderland.
out of nowhere, you just have people like that. So it's a bunch of performances. I mean, Central Park, you have people who, I don't know if you know, like they'll do like parkour over other people.
I have seen
They'll
that.
just drag you out like randomly, and they'll be like, "Here, I need you to hang down a little bit," and they'll just do like a freaking backflip over you, and it's like, what the hell? So it's like a lot of hidden talent, a lot of stuff that I think just makes up the New York City culture, and kind of just unites everyone.
Yeah, kind of going off the. Let's go back to the songs for a second.
Yeah.
Kind of going back of just how much of a land of opportunity this is. There's just so much talent waiting to be discovered.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'm making a lot of good points facing you. I don't know why. I should face the camera more often.
I try to face the camera, but it's like it feels a little unnatural sometimes. And
It's like I'm
talking to you.
yeah, I'm having a conversation.
I'm talking to you, so it's one of those.
You
things.
guys ain't talking to me.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. I'm playing. I love you guys.
Oh, there's the Robert De Niro coming out.
Okay, bro. Okay.
No, I'm talking about myself. You talking to me?
Listen. I know you
No,
don't.
no.
do-
Listen.
you don't-
Call
I thought we was
me
gonna do
when
this.
you get
You promised me
low.
we wasn't gonna do this.
Promises are meant to be broken. So we're talking about a lot of hidden talent, but what has more talent than in the sports scene?
Thank you.
I
I
did
was
it
gonna
for
say,
you.
I know this isn't something that you necessarily know a lot about, but
Yeah,
I'm a
I said a
huge-
very hurtful comment before. I talked about how you were a fan of things, and I said I don't give a shit. I'm very sorry for saying that. I know there's a lot of interest in it. I should not be shitting on your interest. I'm very sorry. as a
Sorry,
friend.
man. Sorry. It's alright. I mean, I'm still able to drink water, so it's like there's that.
I take it back. I take it back.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, choke on that shit.
Anyways, so sports I think is one of the things that brings so much unity to the city. We are the home for so many different sports teams and so many different cultures related to sports. Go.
Do you mind if I? This isn't even about sports, but I wanted to talk about food again for a second. I'm just really hungry. I'm thinking about something. But what's more infamous to New York City than meat over rice, bro?
Oh yeah, the
Carts
halal carts.
everywhere, halal carts. We make
How did
that
we
shit.
miss that?
Exactly.
Oh my god.
That's why I'm thinking about it.
The street
Nothing will
food.
beat it. Street food in New York City. That scene in itself is banging. You won't find anywhere else like it. You'll find Dominican food. You'll find Puerto Rican food. You'll find, like I said, halal carts. You'll find nuts, hot dogs. You'll find just right where I live. There's
Bagels,
literal
coffee.
kebabs. What's up?
I said bagels, coffee, even.
Yeah. But there's also
Everything.
like right by where I live. There's like a pretty much Michelin star kebab like cart just on the street.
Can I
You
do
will
shameless plug number 2?
You want to do a shameless plug? You're gonna plug a certain place?
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
You
let's
can't
go
talk
for
about
it.
halal carts and not mention Sammy's. So
Sammy's is the branch. Sammy's is one of the most popular branches of these carts. And you love Sammy's. I prefer somewhere else personally.
You're insane if you don't fuck with Sammy's.
No, I
I'm
like
just saying,
Sammy's. I
Sammy's
just
is
have
the best.
I have preferences, okay? I've been
You ever find
I've been
yourself-
doing the halal cart game a lot longer than you have.
No, but my dad has been doing it longer than both of us combined, and he swears by Sammy's. He's been going to Sammy's since he started with the MTA and driving in Jackson Heights. So if you find yourself over there, pay respect to my man.
Sammy's in Jackson Heights might not be it anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong.
What?
They're still award acclaimed.
Yo.
Don't get me wrong. Sit back down.
Yo.
We're still recording.
Yo.
We're still recording.
Yo.
But Sammy's in Jackson Heights has taken a decline, and I know this because I had it recently. You just anger fart at me?
I didn't fart.
What was that noise?
It was my throat.
No,
I went like.
Look, it's still award acclaimed, don't get me wrong. But there's better in the area now. It's not like it was back then. But it's still great. Don't get me wrong. That's all I had to say.
You gotta
Look,
try Sammy's at least once in your life. That's all
please
I'm
try
saying.
Sammy's.
That's all I'm saying. You gotta pay respect to the man.
And then compare it to every other halal cart that's
Bro,
out there.
I'm going to
You'll
smack
find
the
Sammy's
shit out of you.
is one of the best.
Okay. okay. I thought you were gonna say the other place was better.
Look,
I was
I'm just saying,
Try
there's-
Sammy's and then try this place. So you're gonna realize Sammy's sucks compared to it.
There's
That's what you
places
were
that
gonna
are
say.
better than Sammy's in my opinion. And I know this because what else can I have? I had prep in Jackson Heights for 2 years. I've tried every halal cart under the sun. And I will say Sammy's is arguably one of the best ones.
Can we talk about sports now?
Talent, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Eshan. Sorry, I'm a little passionate because
I think my passion beats your passion when it comes to
yeah, that's true. But
you have a lot more
what's-
passion in sports.
Well, yeah. Oh shit! You good with these fucking transitions, bro. Listen, I think one of the things that when we're talking about unity in New York City, it's I think sports. I mean, has to take like somewhere at the top because what unites people more than wearing the same colors, rooting for the same team over and over and over again, right? I mean, there's heartbreak, there's the laughs, there's tears of joy. I mean, my dad has been a lifelong Mets fan, and the Mets just had the most insane playoff run I think since 2015 when they were at the World Series. So it's just one of those things where it's like it was insane to witness that. Even I'm a Yankees fan, but like I was there rooting for the Mets right with my dad because I felt like it was really really cool to see that. And it's that I went to a Yankees game last season. It's just a regular season game, but at the end, even though we lost to Toronto, I don't know how the fuck we lost to Toronto. Don't even get me started with that fucking game. Jazz, I'm still bad at you, but whatever. Anyways, even though we lost the game, and this was at the time where the Yankees would play New York, no matter what, you have everyone leaving the stadium singing Frank Sinatra, and it's just one of those things where it's like there's
That's
that sense
New York?
of community. I mean, where do you go in New York City and you don't see someone wearing one Yankees hat at least? It's just
Speaking of sports,
you wore a Mets shirt.
I did.
He wore a Mets shirt.
I
Hey.
did. I don't even like sports like that. I did.
I asked him to wear a Mets shirt because we wanted to keep it a little.
This was
New
on
York
accident,
thing.
by the way.
Oh, really?
I just did my laundry.
Oh, nice, bro. Nice. So it's just one of those things where I feel like it brings a lot of community to the city. I mean, I'm not even talking about baseball. Even though I'm a baseball fan, right? You see it in basketball. Everyone loves the Knicks. I like the Nets sometimes, but they haven't been doing good. But like, there's that. There's sports. What else? Hockey. I think hockey's one of the biggest things in the city. I think almost everyone's a Rangers fan, and if you go out to the island, everyone's an Islanders fan. I mean, no shit. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you have that sense of community. You guys share wins together. You guys share losses together, and it's just that, right? And of course, you're gonna have your rivalries, like I just mentioned, Islanders, Rangers, Yankees, Mets, the Subway Series. It's like notorious, but it's just one of those things where it's like it brings people together no matter what. And I think that's just something cool. And staying away from just New York sports alone, I mean, I don't remember the last time I felt everyone close to one another like that than the 2022 World Cup. When that was on, and this was my junior year of high school, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was our junior year.
Yeah, I was in Spanish class and we were watching
Everyone,
the World Cup.
everyone in school is either trying to figure out how to stream it illegally or watch it during class. I mean, sometimes, and this was my junior year in high school, and I ran the honor society in my high school, or at least I played like a leadership role. So I got away with a lot of stuff. We used to be able to go into empty classrooms and just stream it on the smart board. And you have people from different cultures all over rooting for their team. You have people rooting for. I mean, not that many people rooted for the U.S. because you have a lot of immigrant communities. So you have people rooting for all these like you have people rooting for Argentina, Brazil, etc., etc., etc. I can keep naming. I forgot who qualified. I'm sorry. I just know that Italy didn't somehow. But like, it's just one of those things where it's like I think it brought everyone together, and after, especially in the group stages of the World Cup, I mean, every single night you hear people celebrating because someone's community, right? Some community for some team won, right? And yes, you have your losses and stuff, but like everyone was just like that together and everyone was super interested, right? So I think that was just a huge thing that I wanted to mention. I feel like stuff like that. And who knows, in 2026 when they have the World Cup come to the States and you have teams playing in New York, it's going to be like that but 10 times as much. 10 times the amplification of just noise, people coming together, people like we just said, food, music, etc. Just because it's different communities like that, and I think that's one of the beauties of New York City. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but that's just one of the beauties of New York City because you have it's that melting pot, but everyone's just united in that sense.
You're rambling, but that's what this podcast is.
Thank you.
So don't feel shame about that. Welcome to Concrete Canvases. Now, I guess I just wanted to say that while I don't know a lot about sports, I do understand the whole unifying thing. I mean, I watched the Super Bowl recently with my friend here. I don't know anything about Kansas City. I don't know anything about the Eagles, but I found myself celebrating just as hard when the Eagles won. I mean, it's unifying in a sense of just camaraderie in general, and I think that the sports scene and unity in general just it's so much stronger in New York City than a lot of other places. And you know what? For someone that doesn't know a lot about sports, I think that's a pretty good take.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's like you're trying to close, but let me just add one more thing because you mentioned the Super Bowl. One of my friends, she goes to school at Temple, and she mentioned because in Philadelphia, after the Super Bowl win, I mean, they really, I mean, you ever hear the term "city of brotherly love"? That's what they like. That's what they refer to Philadelphia as, and it's that. I mean, she said the experience of like the parade and everything. They closed classes that day for the parade specifically, and it was just insane. It was just crazy to see, crazy to witness, crazy to experience just in Philadelphia. So it's, I think sport. I know I'm talking about Philadelphia, but it's just sports in general. I feel like brings communities together like that, and it's just really really cool.
Yeah, I bet like not everyone in Philly is a huge like fan of the sports. I bet some of them don't even know what's happened, but they still celebrated just as hard, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah, without the wrong goal. Sorry about that.
Right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, unity, just in a sense, that's what New York City is.
Yeah.
It's unity. And what is more unifying than opportunity?
You're so good at this, bro. Let me just set a little bit of context for you guys. So, like, he has his computer, which is typically to monitor, like, the mics and everything like that. And if he needs to look up any extra information that he might need. I have I call it the program, but it's pretty much all the specific points I want to bring up for the podcast. So I'll glance at it, and it's just to make sure we're on track. And if we go on a tangent, it's not for too long before we come back to what we actually meant to talk about. And he's transitioning clean from each individual thing on here. It's so fucking good, man.
I'm trying.
So good, bro. All right. But yes, like you were saying, opportunity, and I wanted to close off. Is there still opportunity in New York City?
I feel like this is a question that's only applicable to people that live here, because if you're not from here, you're not gonna know realistically. You're gonna think of opportunity like it is in the songs. And so I'm glad you asked me that, because I really would like to give my perspective on it. There is opportunity here, but it is much harder to make it now because of all the problems that I listed before. We have incompetency in government. We have incompetency in leadership. We have rising gentrification by big brands that don't care about the people living there, but they care about their bottom line. It is so much harder to make it because of just how many things to hurdle over. But it is still possible. I'm not going to say, oh, you just need to put your nose to the grindstone, because really, there are ankle chains wrapped around pretty much anyone fresh off the boat trying to make a life for themselves. And it's been like that for decades now, ever since the first immigrants stepped foot from on Ellis Island. New York City is a land of opportunity, but people are trying to make it so that it is a land of stagnant growth. A place where it is no longer hospitable to people trying to make a name for themselves, trying to make a life for themselves, for their families. But they won't be able to, because New York City, like we said before, is a unified force. No one will wish worse on each other, because at the end of the day, we are New York City in a way. Everyone wishes the best for each other, and that happens in so many of these communities nowadays. It used to be a really big problem, but what we see less and less. Immigrants support immigrants.
Yeah.
And what is New York City but a city of immigrants? Whether you're born here or not, you wouldn't be here without an immigrant bloodline. I mean, when did your grandparents come here first?
So my grandmother, so my on my mom's side, that whole family came in the 90s. For my father's side, I know that my grandfather was a child of immigrants. So they came, gosh, I mean, 1900s, but much earlier than
Mm-hmm.
and
Early 20th century, you'd say.
yeah, I would say early 20th century. And then my paternal grandmother, I was confused
Mm-hmm.
those terms. My paternal grandmother came in, I would say, around the mid 20th century. So it's just one of those things where I'm a child of immigrants. I feel.
Everyone in New York City is a
Yeah.
child of immigrants, and they faced issues as well, but they made it. And it's not the same for them as it is for present day now, obviously, but it is still very much possible. There's people that will wish it not to be possible. There's people that are working their hardest to make sure that it's not possible. But as long as we stay unified as a city, it'll always be possible. New York City will always be a land of opportunity. And I know that's kind of virtual signaling a lot, but that's my take. Honestly, there's nothing that should stop this place from being a land of opportunity. Everyone should be able to make it in the city that never sleeps.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that I can't. I don't think I could have worded it much better than that, Ishan. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just that. I don't know what to say.
That's
Honestly, it's
completely
really
fine.
really
I
really
mean,
difficult to build off of it.
Do you think it's a land of opportunity still, or do you think it's harder, easier, etc.?
No, I think it's definitely a land of opportunity. In fact, I would say if you do want to make it, I think New York City is going to be the place where that happens. I think that's a huge reason why so many people not even come from different countries, but come from different states to experience New York City. You have the term, and we've native New Yorkers coined this, but the term transplant has been used to describe people who aren't initially from New York City, but from, let's say, like Kansas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Different states, different areas that aren't the metro area, but come to move to New York City and experience what it is and try and make it. So I mean, everyone's doing this for a reason, huh? So that's New York City for me. And I think, of course, there's still opportunity. Like you said, people are going to try and take that away from the city, but we're too strong. So,
I would say that the best way to put it is kind of, we're not we're insulting, but we're nice. It's kind of the opposite of the West Coast.
oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
We'll criticize you for being a dumbass, but we will help you out of a ditch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that describes opportunity as a whole in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll open the gates for you, but we don't have to be happy about it. And ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 2 of Concrete Canvases. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming, but we are so happy to finally get this out of the way.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're able to do this. honestly, I love talking about just my personal experiences, and I feel like this episode was a great place to do that because, I mean, again, we're both native New Yorkers. We're both from Northern Queens.
That's what the pigeon of concrete campuses is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those things where it's like again. I mean, obviously, but it hit home for us or hit close to home for us. So it's just great, and I hope you guys found it interesting as well. Whether you're from New York City or not, I encourage you guys to share your ideas about New York City in the comments or message us or whatever. I'd love to find out what you guys think, whether you guys agree, disagree, especially if you're from the city, because if there's things that we missed out on, I'd love to hear about it. So
I mean, like, we're New York City natives, but we haven't been everywhere. Like, for example, Tommy hasn't been many places in the Bronx. I haven't been many places in
I
Brooklyn.
actually like try to avoid Brooklyn as much as I can. So like I will.
It's just not easy to
intentionally-
drive through.
And not even not easy to drive through, but it's not easy to get to from Queens. You have to go to Manhattan to get to Brooklyn a lot
Bus
of times.
routes are also really bad. Mayor should be looking into that, just saying.
Yeah.
Instead of, partying with Diddy.
So it's just one of
And,
those
like,
things.
there's a lot of places in the city that we haven't been as well. So, like, we are interested in hearing your perspectives as well, whether you're a New York City native or not.
So yeah, and again, just thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. If you are, like truly, I appreciate it. I think like I'll every now and then I'll get a message on social media from someone who's watched, and they're complimenting it, and honestly, that means so much more than you guys
That
know.
makes my day. I mean, I'll hear people just in my day to day, or like my friends, they'll hear the podcast. They're like, "Hey, man, you should do this episode next, or you should do that. I really liked your performance, man. You're so well spoken."
Yeah,
That's from
exactly.
his mother. Actually, I was very, very
Because he is. This
flattered
man
to hear
is very,
that.
very well spoken.
But like,
So-
we're drawing on for a while now, but I just can't. I just can't put my gratitude in words. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're small, but for the people that do appreciate us, you have our
Like
thanks.
eternal things.
You have our eternal thanks. Thank you for putting
Truly.
it into words.
And
If you want to come to New York City, do it.
yeah, it's honestly great to visit. Just don't stand on the sidewalks and not do anything.
Yeah, please.
Like I swear to God,
please,
just move
don't
over.
be idle, please.
just move over.
We call them transplants for a reason. They're stuck in the fucking ground.
Yeah, literally, need to take a picture of the fucking skyscraper.
Yeah, and also don't talk to the cosplayers at Times Square. Don't talk to them. They're gonna finesse you
The
for 40
accent's
bucks.
coming out, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it come out. Don't talk to them. You're gonna A, block up the whole fucking view for everyone else trying to take a beautiful photo. B, you're gonna block the walkways because fucking Optimus Prime wants to charge you 40 bucks for a
Or
shitty
like the naked
photo.
cowboys, don't do all that.
Naked cowboys?
You ever see them at Times Square?
No. What is Ram Ranch doing at Times
That's
Square?
what it is, bro.
Can we end the episode?
Okay, listen. All right, truly, we're gonna close this, but genuinely, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, share your ideas about New York City. Hit us up. Be like, this is what I think. I think you guys missed out on this, etc., etc., etc. We love hearing that. If you guys have ideas for different content you want to see, what you guys want us to talk about, we want to hear. Reach out. I mean, I'm gonna plug the social media handles. So like, mine is literally just my name. I'll put it over here. I don't.
Tuk.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll write them down. I'll edit them in, and then the podcast social media is at Concrete Canvases Show. I'll put that again somewhere. And then as always, like, follow, subscribe, and share this with someone who you think would enjoy watching us.
Well, that's the end of this. This is Tommy. I'm Eshan. Thank you for watching Concrete Canvases, episode 2. Woo!
Boom, boom. Okay, I gotta stop.